at him, and my lawyer and another person grabbed hold of me.
Oh, that's bad.
And the judge, well, he was admonished big time, but the judge chewed his ass later on.
He was out of line. He was trying to provoke you.
He was
trying to provoke you.
He was. And this woman had really never worked a day in her life. She was my age, and the only job she ever held in her life was a car hop, working on her, a drive-in restaurant, So, but I said I got to give it up, and I just got too much, and I had too many injuries with the Navy and this, and I'm enough. But I was in a part-time academy instructor and defensive tactics and all, which I like doing that. But the other part, and just some of the most backbiting people I ever found were cops. And if you're not in that clique, I was older than most of the cops. There was a few of us but they were higher ranked than I was. So it's kind of hard, coming out of the Navy as a senior chief petty officer, E8. And I'd been in military police, in the Navy, Master at Arms. Did the same stuff these guys do. I mean, some of better training, but you got some 22-year-old kid, telling a 40-year-old man that was doing this when he was still in diapers. It just got to me. And I told him one day, I said, I was doing this when you were shitting yellow in a diaper, buddy. And he didn't know what to do with that. And I didn't mean to say that, but that's the truth. So,
you've had a, colorful career. Now, did the military, did that help when transitioning to police?
Yeah, when I first went in the Navy, I was stationed at Cherry Point down the road here. In 77 and 79, I worked in Navy Supply. I was an aviation storekeeper. I was all over those warehouses at Cherry Point and all that. But then I got transferred to Japan. I was in Japan for like almost 2 years. And
how'd you like Japan?
I love Japan. The only bad thing is I was in Misawa, which is way up north.
Is it cold?
It'd be snow. It's probably snowing there now.
Wow.
They had like 2 months of mild weather, but it never once got up above like 80 degrees. I don't think. It got warm, but the base at the time, this is like in 1980, the base had a listening post. You had Joint Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, CIA, all those three-letter agencies that would come there.
NCIS?
At the time, it was called NIS, yeah. And they had, at the listening post, they would listen in on Korea, North Korea, South Korea, whoever. And they had this big antenna they called the elephant cage. It's like a big round thing, and inside that, they had those things. Every once in a while, some Navy sailor would start having seizures or freaking out because they're staring at those monitors all day. And whatever they did, I don't know what they did. I wasn't allowed to go in that room. They pulled the guy out and put him in the lobby, but you had to have like a hired and top secret to get in that room. I didn't want to know what was in there.
Super secret.
Yeah, so I got involved in security over there, and I said, I like doing this. And the Navy calls it Master at Arms, like military police, same thing. Went to the same thing as we actually went to Army schools, but the Navy taught them. But we did everything, and some of the training that the Army did was superior to what you learn in the civilian world, I think, because I learned how to be an investigator, took the Army school, and these guys that I worked with, they didn't know, really could hardly write a report. I mean, just really strange. And so I became a training officer at the police department, and I had a couple times. I was one guy I trained. He trained for like 6 weeks, and I had him for the last 2 weeks. So we pulled on a Friday evening about 8 o'clock at night. I said, "Well, your training's over now." I said. He said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I think Monday morning you need to go in there and tell the chief you want to find another job." I said, "Because you're going to get somebody killed, and I don't want to be the person out there to get killed." I said, "You don't listen to me. You pull your gun when you shouldn't. You have no weapon discipline. You put that gun in my ear several times when you're standing beside me. You just don't listen to nobody. And I said, you're going to die out here. Well, he eventually did quit. He didn't do that. But about 6 months later, and then he went to work with the sheriff's department. And then I was reading in the newspaper, he shot some guy going out the window of a trailer, shot him in the butt.
Oh, my.
And they fired him. So it was crazy. But
so, I mean, I know you watch TV and it's crazy, but are you ever allowed to shoot somebody in the back or the butt?
That's the only time you can really shoot someone like that. If they got a weapon in their hand and they just created, like they just killed somebody, you don't know what they're going to do. They're running away, or they have done serious stuff to something, like shot a cop, and he's running away, or shot at anybody. Yeah, fleeing felon. You could shoot a fleeing felon. I knew a guy in Mississippi. I was a reserve deputy in Lauderdale County, and this guy I rode with a lot. He taught me how to be a street cop, really. And he told me when he first started, the sheriff shot somebody, this black woman, for stealing a purse, shot and killed her on the sidewalk in front of a store. There ain't nothing about it. That was back then.
Well, now, is she armed, or?
No. He said she stole a purse out of the store. And the value of it was considered a felony. Because back then, now I think the value, it's still $1,000 for it to be considered a felony. You know what a felony is? You know what actually the term for a felony, what that means? A lot of people don't know.
Federal offense.
No.
No.
A felony is a crime that's been committed, and the punishment is 1 year or more in jail. You can commit a federal felony and a federal misdemeanor. A federal offense means that there's laws on the book that says, and usually a federal offense, it's a higher. You go to federal court, usually you're going to get found guilty. Usually.
So what year was this?
This is probably back in the early 60s.
60s.
Yeah. See, I was in Meridian, Mississippi, and that's where those civil rights workers were killed back in like 1962, when Kennedy was the president, and Bobby Kennedy was the Attorney General. And they found them. They'd been murdered by the Klan. And up in, I think it was outside of Meridian. It was in Lauderdale County, but they still called it Meridian. But the Klan had a big presence back then, and I was asked to join the Klan after I became a Master Mason. I told them that I'm a patriot. I'm not a bigot. And I said I can't do that. I said I wouldn't do that. And I don't know how now. And I think about it, they're letting African American, black people in our lodge, which I have no problem with, as long as they're a good character, and all that. But I can't imagine in Mississippi, one of the most racist states in the world, county, some of the counties there,
that you know of,
black people in the lodge, and
they do or they don't.
They do.
Yeah. Well, it's a Grand Lodge thing.
Yeah.
There's
they did it in Kentucky, and I know North Carolina's only been a few years. And so
yeah.
But I got no problem with anybody. It was in Mississippi. They let Filipinos in there, or they let Hispanics. Because I knew people that got initiated, and they had no problem with it. But if you were black back then, no.
Well, it's like Dr. Martin Luther King said, it's just a matter of character.
It is. It is
a matter of character.
I mean, you serve with black people in the Marine Corps. There's some fine people.
Yeah.
Though they're all races, and there's.
Of course, I've been accused of being racist, and I've put a lot of thought into it. And no, I just stick to judging by a man's character.
Exactly. Are you from here?
No.
Where are you from?
I was born in St. Louis.
Oh, okay. Is that where your home is, or it was?
Illinois.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved to Hawaii.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. But it's too expensive, and I don't know. It's not as comfortable to live, right? I mean, here In North Carolina, you can live really comfortably with, not that much money.
Yeah.
Over there, you can live poor with not that much money. But and it's just a completely different life. I mean, I love Hawaii. The Big Island, Kona, is beautiful.
Did you get involved in masonry here?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
In 2017.
Okay. Wow, you've done quite a bit since then. You got a hell of a memory. I was thinking the other day, when you say the stuff at the end of the lodge, I'm like, how do you remember all that?
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess that would be it too if I went to the lodge, like I should have. But obviously I'm back in it now, and I keep in touch with some of my old friends, and I got this one kid that he's not a kid, he's a lieutenant now on one of the police departments in Kentucky, nearby where I lived. He just ran for public office to be in Kentucky. They have a different political office called a jailer. He's in charge of that county jail. In most states, it's the sheriff, like it is here, but not in Kentucky. So he ran for jailer, but he got defeated. But I think the next time around, he'll probably get elected, and it's like over $100,000 a year paying jobs.
Wow.
Well, you got to deal with all the
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, really. One highlight of my Navy career for almost 3 years, I was in charge of the deserter apprehension unit in Norfolk. And we wore civilian clothes, had American Express credit cards, carried .38 pistol, or looked just like FBI or whatever, and we would go pick up deserters that were stopped by the police or for whatever reason. Like we went all over the country getting them. We went to Israel once and Okinawa, and had to transport a prisoner to Quantico one time. He had been a deserter, and this is a Navy captain, 06, who was my boss in D.C. I was the OIC of this unit. I didn't have a boss in that bay. I had to answer to D.C. Well, anyways, he called me and told me that this guy was wanted by one of these drug cartels, but we need to put him in the brig. And he said, you need to arm up, protect yourselves, and transport this guy up there. So we had like 4 of our, they look like cop cars with this cage and all that. And we were armed to the teeth, escorting this guy and transporting him. I had a bulletproof vest on him and all, the body armor. And I told my guys, I said, they start shooting at him, you defend yourself. You're not going to defend this guy. I mean, you do your job, but if they're shooting at you, you shoot back. I said, I don't think they're going to do it because nobody knows when he's going to go. So we had to go up to I can't remember where we went. We had to go pick him up somewhere from some jail. And but I would go to these jails, like in Philadelphia. I had to go pick up a guy, and it was like a hell. Just walking into hell. And he couldn't wait to get out of there. And I had to go one time to this place called Wartburg, Tennessee. Now you can imagine being in a county jail in Wartburg, Tennessee. So we go there, and it looked like our lodge, that old building. It really did. We go there, and I asked the guy, I said, I'm here to pick you up. This is from the Navy. I show him, we had credentials there with a badge and all that. I mean, we carried guns, carried guns and all that. Just like being in a NIS or FBI or whatever. Anyways, I asked the guy, I said, where is it so-and-so? I think he went across the street to the store to get something for lunch there. I said, the prisoner? Yeah. I'm like, well, he's wanted by the Navy. I said, he's a deserter. Oh, we know that. We give him some allowance to go to the grocery store to get themselves different lunch if they want it.
By himself?
Yeah, he'd been doing that for like a week. So I'm like, oh my God.
He wasn't going anywhere.
And they only give him like $5. And we saw him. He said, oh my God, I don't know why I did what I did. I said, I've been eating bologna for a week. And after 30 days, they declare under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, someone was declared a deserter in the military. And he'd been gone for like 45 days. But also, when we were on the road picking them up, we were also investigating where they were. I found a guy that had been working for a Canadian defense contractor at a Ministry of Defense. Had been gone 25 years. He deserted off the USS Saratoga in San Diego during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
And he said, well, I thought that President Nixon gave amnesty to all the people. And I said, he gave amnesty to the draft dodgers, not the people that were on active duty and deserted. Oh. So we tracked him down, and we met him in Baltimore, and I told him, he was under arrest, and took him back to Norfolk, and they made him get a full sea-bag uniforms and everything. So we turned him over to this transient personnel unit, and they took care. They court-martialed him, but they just discharged him. They didn't give him any time or anything because they'd been gone so long. And sometimes, though, long-termers, we had another guy that was been gone like 20 years, and he had a construction company outside the gates of Naval Air Station, Jacksonville, Florida, and deserter. Been gone 20 years. So I found out we did cold cases, that people couldn't do nothing with. But with the internet was just coming around, and we were getting all that stuff. Plus, we had contacts with.
Wow.
So anyways, I called his house, and I told his wife, this Senior Chief Tony Ramey, I'm in charge of the Norfolk Absentee Navy Collection, or Navy Absentee Collection Unit, the Deserter Apprehension Unit, in other words. And I said, I'm looking for so-and-so. Well, you have the wrong number. I said, no, I don't. I said, I'm going to talk, is it your husband you're married to? And she like a silence. I said, ma'am, yes. I said, okay, you need to contact your husband. He's got 5 minutes to call me back. And we had a toll-free number. And I said, write down this number. This is long before cell phones were a big thing. It wasn't probably a minute. He called me back. And I said, are you so-and-so? Yeah. I said, well, I'll tell you right now, that you're a deserter. You've been gone for over 20 years. You are a fugitive from justice. This is a big spiel I had to read to him.
Yeah.
He said, well, you got the wrong guy. I said, look, I'm not going to play games with you. I said, you got about an hour to surrender yourself at the front gate of Naval Jacksonville, or the U.S. Marshals will come to your business within the next hour and arrest you. I said, now, you got the choice. Turn yourself in. Things will go much easier for you. I said, all they're really going to do probably is just administratively separate you, let you out. Which they did. You come back in Norfolk, I didn't go get him. The other guys went and got him. And he come and thanked me after the day he was getting discharged. He said, thank me. He said, sorry, looking over his shoulder. And I said, well, don't you regret what you're doing? He goes, every day. He said, every day. I don't know why I did it. Every day.
Did he get back pay?
No. No, he ain't no back pay. He all in pay he got was health and comfort. And it was probably about $200. And but they didn't. I told the people, I said, don't make him buy a hopeful sea bag. I said, what for? Because when they get it.
Now that's the basic, the uniforms and that
sea bag.
Yeah,
yeah. You like
when you go into boot camp,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Same thing. You had sea bags in the Marine Corps, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get
full of stuff. Yeah. Well, I used it all.
It.
Yeah. I wore it out.
Yeah.
It's all wore out.
So yeah, mine too. But I mean, I can sit here for hours. Mike can tell you all kinds of crazy stories. It's just, and they're entertaining. And my wife's like, I've heard it before. You told me.
Heard all that. Well, that's the way. That's why we record it. And it's interesting, especially for the lodge. And one part of the segment that I like to do, and we just take maybe 10 minutes, and I like to call it controversial.
Okay.
And modern.
All right.
Like what's going on in the world today.
Okay.
That bothers you the most.
Probably the civil unrest, the people in like Antifa and other groups.
Division that's being created.
Yeah, that's I was a Trump supporter. Some of the things he did was great, but after January 6th, I just ethically could not do it. I mean, I thought about it. I mean, I had problems with it. And I just think that he should have, even if he would come out that his daughter tried to get him to intervene, he should have said something. Because you've got these fanatical people that get wound up. I mean, it's just my opinion. I mean, people can do what they want to do, of course, and people are probably not going to agree with what I'm saying.
So what you're basically saying, that he had a responsibility to do something,
yes,
and he did not.
Yes, as the President of the United States, when he was out there at the microphone, when they were delivering those voting results or whatever they were doing, or certifying them, and inciting these people up. I mean, you had police officers killed, and some committed suicide later on because they felt that they were guilty of this. And you have people attacking our. I felt the same way as in 9/11.
Wow.
I sat there and watched it on TV, and I could not believe what I saw when I watched the plane go into the tower.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And then saw that, and stuff like that. Stuff like that keeps me up at night because, where I live at here, ain't nobody gonna come here, But society breaks down. I hope to God I'm not around if it does. But stuff like that, and it's just, people just don't realize how good they've got it here.
It is. It is.
I mean, you traveled the world, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you saw how other cultures live, how people live.
Yeah.
These underdeveloped countries, and just the piss hole of the world. To me, was Mombasa, Kenya. I got so sick over there on dysentery. It was just awful.
Yeah. No, they don't even have clean water.
No, and I don't know. I had to stay all night one night at this warehouse with a ship. I was on the Kennedy aircraft carrier. And we were anchored out. They couldn't pull to. There's no pier to pull to there. But we anchored out so far, and we took the Liberty boats back and forth. Were you on a ship?
No.
Well, that's how they do it. And they had water taxis too. These people, these big boats. They come and take you back and forth from the shore to the ship and all that. Well, we had a bunch of supplies at this Kenyan, at the Mombasa airport, and the Kenyan army had secured this hangar to put this stuff in. Well, somebody from supply, at the time I was working supply, I had on the ship there for a while before I went back to the Master at Arms permanently. But I worked in supply there, and I had to stay all night in this warehouse, sleeping on top of these boxes with no mosquito net, very little food, and the Kenyan Army guys gave me some corned beef hash. I'd never eaten it before. And I took, 5 or 6 bites, and I was deathly ill and didn't have clean. They gave me I don't drink beer, never did, but I did that night. They had beer. It was distilled water or whatever. They made it. I think it was even American beer, I believe. But I got sick the next day, and they finally come and got me, and I was really pissed off. As soon as I got to the ship, I had to go to sick bay medical. And they put me on bed rest in the rack, and, sleeping, and they almost put me on a medical ward. I said, no, I'll just go to, my birthing space. And I had to go to the bathroom, back and forth. And they gave me this medicine that just stopped me up, finally. It was awful. I never been so sick in my life. Thank God I didn't really get COVID. I thought I had it, but my wife had it, but I really didn't. And so, the civil unrest and the part about people, homosexuals on TV, just on regular TV, it just seems like they shove that stuff in your face. I saw something the other day. I was watching these 2 boys kissing.
Yeah.
And I just can't get past that. I'm just like, that's just me. I don't care what people do behind closed doors. Maybe I'm not as tolerant as I should be. I don't know, but I think people have a right to live how they want to live, but they forget. People like you and I guaranteed their liberties. And, they want to burn the flag or whatever, or tear down monuments. They call that cancel culture. And because you don't agree with what they're saying, you're the bad guy, you're the fascist and all that. And I was watching one thing on YouTube, and this guy was asking these people in Antifa, what is fascism? Where did it originate? They had no idea. Fascism started with Mussolini in Italy. And when Hitler, that's what that is. And they didn't have a clue what they were just out there because they didn't like what was going on. And that George Soros, that billionaire, pays the bills for these kids to go out there. And there was another thing I watched where this guy was undercover with some law enforcement agency, went with Antifa. And they are trained how to throw water bottles with iced up, frozen water bottles at people, at the cops and all that. So it's just crazy. And if you don't agree with somebody, like if a man becomes a woman and you call her him, they want to punch you out, and all that.
I was at the grocery store
was it Walmart across the street?
Last night. No, I went to Harris Teeter, and I saw a magazine had a Guy Fieri on the cover, and the title was I'm not the guy you think I am, or something like that. And I said, I wonder what that's about. And the cash register person, she told me that he used to be a woman.
Wow.
And I didn't get all, I'm like, really? Wow, I didn't know, I hadn't heard that. And then I went to go look it up. I couldn't find it. And people just